Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Texas Talkin, the only show in America where political correctness is optional and cowboy hats are mandatory. I'm your host, Shiloh Platts, living my best life, triggering leftists with a hot mic and angering their enablers simply by being myself. Hey folks, have you ever noticed that in every small Texas county, there's that one guy who manages to break the law so many times it's practically a hobby? Well, folks, meet Remington Boykin of Hardin County, a man who apparently woke up one morning, looked at the 10 Commandments, and said, "Challenge accepted." Boykin is a man who seems determined, almost spiritually called, to find out how many crimes you can commit before somebody actually says, "Hey, maybe some jail." Now, this is not some guy who stole a pack of bubble gum from the gas station. No, sir. Allegations made against him by multiple young ladies paint a much darker, more sinister picture. Boykin has been accused of nearly killing a woman by shoving her face into a pillow, and another alleged victim claims he brandished a shotgun on her and her child, threatening to kill them. Some have said methamphetamines have been involved, and God knows what else. But here's what's really strange, and it is strange. The justice system in Hardin County seems to think Remington Boykin is the real victim. Poor guy is just misunderstood. Maybe society failed him. Right. This is what happens, folks, when accountability leaves town, when local prosecutors get cozy, when judges start worrying more about optics than outcomes, and you end up with a county full of hardworking Texans who follow the rules and a guy who treats probation like it's a part-time job. And yet no one asks the obvious question, but we will. Why does he keep getting away with it? Who's protecting him? Who's cashing in on all this leniency? Because let's be real, the average Hardin County resident wouldn't survive 1/10 of what Remington has allegedly pulled. They'd be picking out license plate fonts and wearing white jumpsuits. But not Remington. He's the Houdini of the Piney Woods. Every arrest is a minor inconvenience, like, "Oh, well, we'll see you next week." Now, it'd be funny if it weren't so tragic, because this is bigger than one menace with a record that reads like a Netflix documentary. It's about a justice system that has lost its backbone, too timid, too cozy, too afraid of looking tough. So tonight on Texas Talkin', we'll be speaking with independent reporter Cole Dodson, who is ready to blow the lid off this case and spill the tea about a culture of corruption, complacency, and cowardice in small town justice. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because we're about to point an inconvenient spotlight where many of the good old boys don't want it shining. Cole Dodson joins me next. Let's get dialed in. And joining us now is independent reporter Cole Dodson. Cole, thanks for coming on.
Glad to be with you.
It's good to have you here. And the reason I'm having you on today is because I have a very easy, simple question that probably requires a more extensive answer. Mm-hmm. Who is Remington Boykin, and why should regular folks like me care?
Well, Remington Boykin, for full disclosure, Remington Boykin is someone that I knew and grew up with in Lumberton. And over the years, I kind of grew distant from him. So what happened recently back on September 30th, if I'm not mistaken, no, I'm sorry, August 30th, Remington Boykin was at a lake house in Jasper County, Texas, where he committed several domestic violence crimes against his then girlfriend and her baby. So when that occurred, next thing you know, Hardin County out of nowhere decides to push their charges against him stemming from a incident that occurred back in 2024 in Lumberton, where he would beat up this girl that moved all the way from South Carolina to Lumberton to live with him. not knowing that Remington Boykin seems to have this past with a lot of women in the area where he likes to, get high and drunk, allegedly, and beat them up. So Remington Boykin is part of the larger Boykin family, which, for those that don't know, is big time into the real estate market in Southeast Texas, including several lake properties in Lumberton and I'm sorry, up in Jasper County, and a big time subdivision in Lumberton called Boykin. Well, it seems that for the longest time, he's been able to grease the wheels of justice in his favor, including a trespassing charge back in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, where he was stalking an ex and was able to get that charge moved from Orange County to Hardin County. Okay.
Now, why would he want to do that?
Well, let's just say he has a lot of friends up in Hardin County, and the word is, and I've heard this from several sources, is that, well, it's Hardin County, we can do whatever we want.
Wow.
And it's a total just mess. Well, let's keep going. So August 31st, he's charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated kidnapping with a deadly weapon, and felonious assault.
As I understand it, he's accused of having brandished a shotgun on a young lady and her baby.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and he did the exact same thing to the woman from South Carolina. Her name is Brittany Painter, and she is a
met her online, lured her allegedly to the state of Texas, and then committed this atrocity as you're describing it.
Yes. Well, anyways, here's where things start to get interesting, and here's where Hardin County officials tend to get involved. Well, when Jasper County made their move and Hardin County decided to follow along, I started reading through the affidavit that Hardin County put out and corroborating it with a story that she told on TikTok, which garnered nearly 5 million views on multiple platforms. And the affidavit, there's a little line in there that says that his dad called Remington to check and see what was going on. So what happened was that Miss Painter was trying to get away from Remington, like walking down the street, trying to get away from him, calling his brother Brenner to, help her out. Well, the affidavit says it was his dad, Kevin. According to her, it was a police chief. Now, sorry, my IFB keeps coming out. Gotta love technical difficulties live on air. But
that's all right. Anyways, the suspenders are keeping you sharp.
Oh, absolutely. But continuing on, she says in her TikTok video, which is very detailed, she says it was a police chief. Now, when that came out and everything, and I started making the noise on Facebook and whatnot, but she said it was a police chief, and I looked in a area of Lumberton on the west side, and there's some trailer houses there, and she which this area of Lumberton, it's obviously, it's outside of the city limits, but again, he's from Lumberton, so I'm kind of putting two and two together, and from what I can gather, it's looking like Danny Sullins made that phone call when apparently Brenner and their family called 911 saying, hey, there's a domestic disturbance going on at this residence. Check it out. And the response was a phone call from a police chief.
And Danny Sullins is who again?
The Lumberton police chief.
Okay.
So that's where that comes in. So then I started doing a little bit of digging into Rebecca Walton, the district attorney, and what's going on there. And obviously, we all know Hardin County has a serious backlog of cases stemming from the previous district attorney, David Sheffield, who is a good man, by the way. I've known David for a while. But things under him, even though things move slow, they handle cases properly for the most part. But under her, it seems like there is such a backlog that they're just going willy-nilly, just trying to get these cases off the desk without any regard for what's going on. So obviously the Remington Boykin case is a little bit of a different story because of the public, pressure. ongoing with that, but there was another case that was brought to my attention, and it was involving a dyslexic man who essentially got railroaded for, child molestation when in fact the incident never actually occurred in the first place, but because there was some missing footage on a Ring camera that, after 30 days it deletes, and by the time they got to it, up too late it deleted, they were able to kind of, grease the wheels a little bit and get this man thrown in prison for something he never committed, and he was at home when the alleged incident occurred.
So
So,
I want to go back to this Remington Boykin
mhm,
Chronicles, this fiasco and
yeah.
apparent injustice. Why does it seem like every time this guy gets into trouble, he just slips through the hands of justice like a greased pig at a county fair? What's going on here, Cole?
If I had to guess, I would say that, we're all familiar with what we would consider to be the good old boys club. It's not about, it's not, it's essentially about who you are, what kind of connections you got, what's in your bank account, campaign donations. So, and this is more prevalent in small town politics than it is in bigger city politics. So essentially, if you're somebody that's got, a nice bank account,
Family owns a lot of land, has a lot of
family,
resources,
deer
pays,
leases.
makes
Yep.
donations to the right
Hmm.
people. I'm all too familiar with these types of stories. And you're right, it does tend to happen more in small towns and in small counties than anywhere else. But it just deeply disturbs me when I see an instance where it appears that there are two systems of justice, right? One
Right.
for the rest of us and one for the elites. And so, what I want to know is what's being done to address this? And can the good people of Southeast Texas, particularly Hardin County, expect accountability out of this?
um, the further I look into it, the more I have to tell people that, like, because I've been inundated with so many messages from people in Hardin County asking for help, saying, "Hey, I need help with this. I also need a lawyer, so on and so forth." And I just tell people, I'm like, look, the only way you're really going to fix this is you have to participate in elections. You have to vote. You have to participate in the primaries. And not only that, but people have to run. Because a lot of these candidates, like especially like Wayne McDaniel, Rebecca Walton, the district attorney, and all these other guys, they run unopposed. No one's running against them.
I wonder
So if
why.
no, well, ask David Bello. He could probably tell you. Which let's get into that a little bit and get into Wayne, because this is something else that dropped on my desk
Now,
quite
I don't
nicely.
know Wayne. I've never met him. I've only ever heard
Hmm.
great things about him. I'll say that.
Look, I don't think that anybody in Hardin County is bad. I'm not saying that these are bad people, but what they are is what we would call political survivalists. Okay, they do what they have to do in the bare minimum to get elected. They're not going to go above and beyond and try to make things better. They're going to do just what the little bit they have to do, just so that way no one really pays attention, everyone stays asleep, and just, they show up on election day like every good Republican does. They see the R, click, they done their job.
That's why
And
the
that's
Republican primary in Texas, I've argued for a long time now, is so much more important than the general election, because that's really the only place around here where we can make meaningful change.
Yep, that's right. Well, David Bello is someone that tried to do that, and this was back in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, because Wayne McDaniel got into office mid-year 2014 after the previous judge, Billy Caraway, retired. So David Bello tries to run for county judge, and all of a sudden he's getting hit with stalking charges. And come to find out later on, none of that ever occurred. And in fact, the Texas Rangers had to send a special prosecutor on Bob Wortham to clean that up.
From here in
But
Jefferson County.
yeah, they prosecuted him in Jefferson County so that way the stench wouldn't stay in Hardin County. I mean, it's the forum shopping. We see that all the time with the feds. But um, essentially he never stalked anybody, but you know how it goes. Once a bad story gets out, oh, real it really sours the electorate very
If
nicely, and it did for him. So
so, where is Remington Boykin right now? I mean, he's got all these charges, right, and allegations swirling
mhm.
around. Where is he?
He's on an ankle monitor. He's
Of
on an
course
ankle
he is.
monitor. So what happened is, according and this is according to Chuck Havard, the sheriff of Jasper County.
Good man.
Very good man. I like him a lot. I mean, and I will say Jasper County has been very blessed and fortunate to get someone like Chuck Havard in office.
I agree.
What happened was is that he was released that he had a bond in Jasper County, okay, but they had a hold for no bond in Hardin County. So what happened was is that once he posted bond in Hardin County, or I'm sorry, in Jasper County, he was sent to Hardin County, where Justice of the Peace Rod Owsley gave him a bond there. But what's interesting is that he also has another charge with tampering with a government record in Jefferson County for saying that he sold a $40,000 boat for $5 and was only had to pay $2 in taxes, and where he should have paid like $3,000 to $4,000 for that boat in the taxes when he did the sale. That never happened, and that warrant is still active. And why didn't Jefferson County pick him up?
Good question. I hope somebody answers it.
Last I checked, Zena Stevens is still in charge, and if I'm not mistaken, the district attorney is also a Democrat. So, I mean, what a geez,
Cole,
it's mhm.
tell me I'm crazy. I mean, maybe I'm just dreaming this. Maybe I'm making it up. But it feels like, from what I've seen, and I've been here going on 8 years now in Southeast Texas, it
Mhm.
seems like there are a handful of very wealthy, very influential families who seem to
Yeah.
pull the puppet strings around here and call the shots. And whenever there is a problem with any of their affiliates, any of their loyalists, any of the people who are close to them, especially family members, the problem just seems to get swept under the rug and magically disappear. Am I crazy?
No, 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 and that's how Southeast Texas politics works. I mean, again, I'm from Southeast Texas. I went to Kelly. I know all the big wigs, the Phelons, all of them. Okay, it's just I mean, who you are makes a big difference. If you're someone like us, just nobodies that are trying
Regular
to break
guy.
in, yeah, you
So
just
I go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. I mean, if you got the money and the connections, you can do whatever you want. Hardin, Jefferson, Jasper. Well, not Jasper anymore. They got a new sheriff. Orange, Chambers County.
And what
It's
a
insane.
travesty that is. But I want to close with this. It goes
Mhm.
back to perhaps the most important point you made during this entire interview, and that is the importance of elections. We can't
Yeah.
underscore that enough. I've been on a message lately driving a narrative about how important it is that we elect JPs, judges, and constables who are actually going to be tough on crime, regardless of who is accused of the crime, regardless of who the family is, regardless of who is in control, managing these puppet strings. We need elected officials who are going to promote a culture of law and order and hold people accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but when you look at the reports coming out of Texas and Representative Brian Harrison, it's pretty bad. I mean, believe me, my fight with Texas right now and all these and the county officials in Hardin County, it's not personal, but it's like what it almost feels like we're in an identity crisis because I mean, Texas, we always promote ourselves as the most conservative state, this bastion of freedom. But then when you start digging beneath the surface, you're like, holy crap, this looks like a blue state. What is going on here? And it's absolutely just embarrassing. And, hey, I know you're running for Jefferson County, Republican Party chair. We, man, I'm I hope you win, really. I'm praying for
Thank
you
you,
on
Cole.
that
Thank you. I
because
appreciate that
we
very
we
much.
need some people that are going to realize that, playtime is over. We cannot sit around and just, play with our thumbs. This is a war we are in. We are in a war with the Democrats, and if what And if we don't start playing like, we're serious and we're actually going to make changes that are going to better the lives of everybody and not just a select few at the top, then, we might as well just go ahead and hand it over to the Democrats like we're already doing in the Texas House.
You're preaching to the choir, brother, and I couldn't agree with you more. It's so important. People, I think, realize that this is a pivotal moment in our state and our country. It is a fight. You can't keep continuing to try and appease these people. They don't want appeasement. They don't want debate. Oftentimes, when, as we saw with Charlie Kirk just recently, when they're confronted with strong words, when they're confronted with a challenge to debate, they respond with bullets. And then the crazies celebrate the loss of human life. It's truly remarkable in the worst way possible.
Yeah, and you bring up Charlie Kirk. I remember meeting him once at a Turning Point USA event in Florida back in 2023. And, we were sitting in this parking garage baking. I mean, it poured rain and then it got really steamy, like a sauna in there. And Charlie Kirk came out with his staff and they were all in suits and everything, just sweating bullets. And he went around and he shook everybody's hand and said, I am so sorry about this. We will do everything we can to get you in as quick as possible. Is there anything we can do for you? Water, And I mean, he was just an absolute wonderful gentleman. And,
Amen.
I will cherish that moment for the rest of my life. And when I saw what happened at Utah Valley University, I broke. I mean, that was wild to see a full HD assassination like that. That just shocked, you can't get that out of your mind.
No, you can't. And that video, I wish I could unsee. We're going to be following this Remington Boykin story very closely. And Cole, I want to ask you to please keep us in the loop. Any developments that I may not see, we'll cover this story. If the mainstream media chooses to cover it, great. If they don't, we're going to do it here for sure.
Oh,
and I want to thank you for taking some time to come on and talk to us tonight.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
May God bless you, and may God continue to bless the great state of Texas. Cole, thank you for helping us keep Texas talking.
Absolutely. Glad. God bless you. See you soon.
Stay dialed in to interviews and content just like this by clicking that follow button on my Facebook page, or hit the subscribe button to learn more about exclusive access that you won't want to miss.